Welcome to Hancock and Kelley here on Fox 2. And let's start off on the left today. It is Michael Kelley. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, good morning, guys.
And on the right is John Hancock.
Nice tie, pal. Nice tie.
Well, it's the end of summer, so I thought I should start getting decked up for you guys.
He's all cleaned up and ready to go. By the way, I heard from somebody this week who said, I like watching your show on the weekend. It's the one political show I can actually understand. I don't know how to take that. Any thoughts? Do we dumb it down far enough for some people? I don't know. Michael, what are your thoughts on that?
It's our looks that are attracting people, right?
There you have it, yes. And our smooth, clean haircuts, John Hancock, looking good.
You know, once people hit 80, they find me irresistible, Brown.
Just the demo we want. Great to have you along. All right, so let's set the table with the big topics of the day. And all starts with President Trump wanting a full Supreme Court.
I think you're going to need the 9 justices. Also, I have a constitutional obligation to put in 9 justices. So I think you're going to be very impressed when you see all of them. I mean, they're all great.
The president appears to have at least 51 senators in favor of moving forward with a nomination after Utah's Mitt Romney said he would not block it. The Supreme Court issue now at the forefront of the 2020 campaign. Democrats say the decision should wait until after the election.
We should honor her dying wish, imparted to her granddaughter, that she, quote, not be replaced until the next president is installed.
Tuesday of next week, Fox's Chris Wallace will host the first presidential debate in Cleveland, Ohio. The 6 debate topics will be the Trump and Biden records, the Supreme Court, COVID-19, the economy, race and violence in our cities, and the integrity of the election.
What this president stands for, that he wants a judge who will protect our fundamental rights, our essential liberties, who looks at the Constitution as written.
Joe Biden picked up a big endorsement. Cindy McCain, the wife of the late Republican Senator John McCain, will back his candidacy this fall. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Okay, we're going to talk about Supreme Court first. Now, full disclosure, this show taped right before he makes his pick, so we're going to talk about the fight in general. John, he has the votes, it appears, but this is still going to be a nasty battle as we move forward towards the election.
Well, they all are. Every time there's a Supreme Court nominee, it's nasty. It's political. It's divisive. That's been the case for over 20 years now. This one will be no different. The president does have a constitutional obligation to nominate a judge. The U.S. Senate has a constitutional obligation to either take that up or reject it. And in this case, it looks like at this early stage that the Senate is going to take up the president's nominee. And I suspect that nominee is going to be confirmed. I suspect it's going to be Amy Coney Barrett, but we'll know by the time this airs whether I'm right or not.
All right, Mike, there's not much the Democrats can really do to stop it, but yeah, they say there could be some blowback on Republicans when it comes to the election.
Well, I think that's probably inevitable. And like John said, all nominations to the court become extremely contentious and hostile. This one in particular, because we heard the president say, I have a constitutional obligation to nominate. Well, he did, and so did Barack Obama. John also mentioned that the Senate has a constitutional mandate to then take it up. That didn't happen in 2016. Now, what will happen? The president's going to be able to nominate someone. The Republicans are going to push them through. They know they're probably going to lose this election. It's the consequences that come after that. The Republicans have broken down so many norms with what they did in 2016 that I'm fearful that the Democrats are going to take their 10 pounds of flesh and potentially expand the court and put the Republicans in the same trick bag.
Yeah, that's the big threat out there, John. And I do want to do an autopsy. If the Democrats really want to dig in and do their own autopsy, they need to look back at Harry Reid, because this is exactly the reason. I think both of you guys were saying this. Don't do the nuclear option because it can come back to haunt you. This all goes back to what he did in changing the rules then. So he's gone now, but yeah, this goes back to a decision back then that does come back to haunt your party.
Well, they got rid of the 60-vote requirement to confirm federal judges, and that was a precedent-setting move. And now, you know, the shoe's on the other foot, and shoes in politics always end up on the other foot. And sometimes it takes a few weeks, sometimes it takes a few years. You know, the Democrats, if they want to ram through an expansion of the court, Franklin Roosevelt tried to do that, didn't get away with it. But they certainly may do that if they have the White House and the Senate. Someday, the Republicans will have the White House and the Senate. And, what are we going to end up with 30 members of the Supreme Court? That's not helpful. So hopefully cooler heads will prevail in all of this. And hopefully the president's nominee ends up being a solid jurist who, that court needs to function, just like Congress needs to function. Those 9 members need to be able to sit down and function and work together. And I hope that's what's going to happen here.
The cooler heads that John's talking about are the Democrats, the ones who've gotten their heads kicked in, the norms that the Republicans have torn down. I think we're about to see the beginning of a lot of norms get torn down. I don't blame the Democrats for going forward with it. The Republicans are going to say they're violating norms. Goodness gracious, just shut up and go away. We are headed to a very strange place in this country. And I don't think that I'm going too far to say that it concerns me about our democracy as a whole.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. When you start tearing down these norms like we've seen over the past 2 years, you start to lose perspective of why they're in place. Okay, we got to wrap that one up. Let's go on to this one. I want to talk about President Trump's response to the question about whether he would commit to a peaceful transfer of power this week if, in fact, he loses the election. Okay, so we're going to let you hear what he had to say, followed by the bipartisan responses. Roll that tape.
We're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
But I remind him, you are not in North Korea, you are not in Turkey, you are not in Russia, Mr. President. And by the way, you are not in Saudi Arabia. You are in the United States of America. It is a democracy.
George Washington said the distinguishing characteristic of our democracy is a peaceful transfer of power. That's what keeps us from being a banana republic.
The president clarified, saying, oh, yeah, he'll accept it if there's a Supreme Court ruling, Michael. Well, he's also wanting to make sure he has his picks in place for the Supreme Court. So that didn't really help things too much. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, there's nothing about this president that's been helpful. We have a child in the White House. And the one thing that fortunately came out of this week with his childlike behavior is that we saw the Republicans, who seem to have no backbone, establishing a little ounce of a backbone and saying, no, Mr. President, that's not what this is about. The president is threatening the end of democracy. He truly believes that. John can argue that, oh, you're going too far, Kelly. We have watched this man do this time and time again. Thankfully, the Republicans are standing up and saying something's more important than Donald Trump, and that is the preservation of the society in which we live.
John.
Let me just say, you're going too far there, Kelly. Many elections in this country end up in the courts. Why? Because they're close. Ballots get contested. That happened in 2000 with the presidential race in Florida. It happens with state legislative races, congressional races in every state in this country in every election. The president should have said more accurately that, of course, he's going to abide by the results of the election, but he wants to make sure that the results of the election are fair and accurate. And let me tell you, if it's a close election and Donald Trump wins, Democrats are going to court. If it's a close election and Joe Biden wins, Republicans are going to court. That is the pattern and practice in this country. And at the end of the day, the votes that are legitimately cast and legitimately counted are going to tell us who the next president of the United States is. If it happens to be Joe Biden, there will be a peaceful transfer of power. And I think
guys,
clarified that.
Courts are going to be involved, John, and you're probably right. But I think everybody is watching the behavior of Donald Trump over the last couple of years, and they know that while cooler heads or rational thinkers like yourself are thinking about peaceful transition, this isn't a man who's going to go peacefully. He's thrown temper tantrums for 3.5 years. What makes you believe he's going to change? When people show you who they are, believe them.
All right, still to come here on Hancock and Kelley, COVID hits the governor's mansion. We'll talk about the virus knocking out the gubernatorial debate, plus clean Missouri on the ballot again, getting off to a dirty start.
Shoot as quick and straight as anybody can, but I wouldn't shoot without a cause. I'd gun